You are live, Madam Chair. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Sierra. We call this Douglas County Board of Commissioners work session to order. Today is Monday, August 15th, 2022. It's now 10:01 a.m. I would like if everyone can mute their mics, get a little feedback. Good morning to the Board of Commissioners, and I'll start with roll call first. District 1 Commissioner Henry Mitchell III.
Present.
District 2 and Vice Chairman Kelly Robinson.
Present.
District 3 Commissioner Terenia Carthen.
Present.
District 4 Commissioner Ann Jones-Guider.
Here.
And Ramona Jackson-Jones, Chairman, present. Board of Commissioners, we do have a quorum. Good morning to the citizens of Douglas County as well. Hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. I will certainly yield to you to see if there's any public comment out there.
Good morning, Chairman. We did not have anyone sign in to speak this morning, but I would like to see if there's anyone on the line that would like to speak this morning. Being none, Chairman, I turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Clerk Watson. Board of Commissioners, we have a presentation this morning from David Good, our SPLOST Communications Director. Mr. Good, are you ready for your update?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Board of Commissioners, stakeholders, citizens. I'm David Good. I'll be going over the SPLOST presentation. And after the SPLOST presentation is over with, we do have Mr. Terry Gable from Atlas here to help answer any questions. Communications, can you please start the slide presentation, please? And thank you very much, Rick. Next slide. What we'll be going over is that we'll be going over the projections, and we'll be going over the revenues that was collected back in June and then work through July. We'll also be going over our completed projects and going through the categories of fire EMS, transportation, parks and rec. And at the end, I'll be going over the vendor report along with the DBE projection. Next slide, please. First, we'll go over one of the completed projects. We actually had some work that needed to be done for equipment at the Aquatic Center at Boundary Waters. We spent $76,200 to estate services. That was for the commercial hot water heaters and recirculation pumps. So that was a necessity out of Gary Duke's office for the Aquatic Center. Next slide, please. And we'll be going over the revenues. For the first time, I believe we actually are now averaging over $3 million in a SPLOST year. So SPLOST year number 6 started in April, and we have collected 3 months worth, and we are averaging over 3 million. June revenues is $3,143,049, and that's compared to original projection of a little under 2.1 million. The total revenue since the start of the SPLOST, which started back in April 2017 until June, is $147,749,895. That's a little bit over the total amount we believe that we're going to receive in the SPLOST. And right now, the projection was at 128.5. And this is a difference of $19.22 million over the original projections. So at this point, we are at a little bit over $19 million of what we assumed that we would get at this point. Next slide, please. This is actually just a charting that's showing everything from the full year beforehand. This is 12 months, so starting in July of 2021 until June of 2022, you're seeing the average. There's that green line that's showing how much we believe that we will get, which is around close to 2.1 million. The lowest amount that we received is 2.6, which was back in January of this year, and the highest amount that we received was in December at the end of last year. The amount for December was 3.26, and the amount for January was 2.6. So you're seeing that we are still going well above projections. Next slide, please. We're going into our activities on July project activities. One of them was fire station number 9. We did have a meeting with Hussey Gay Bell, who's the one that actually is building this building. The preliminary plans are out. And Commissioner Robinson, this definitely will be a 4-bay fire station. The meeting was held on August 3rd. Also, we have fire station number 4, the renovations. That's at a cost of $847,000. It should scheduled to be plans should be completed by September, with construction starting in October. Resurfacing project is at an increased cost of $9.86 million. The purchase order was issued to C.W. Matthews on August 1st, and I believe they've already started. Next slide, please. The Maximum Road sidewalk that we're at the punch phase list right now. Corbett has completed the sidewalk installation, and it was at a cost of $643,535. This is one of those projects that was put on the SPLOST list because of safety issue, where one of our citizens was killed, young citizens was killed crossing over Maxon Road, trying to get to the other side. So this was very important, especially out there to the citizens in District 2. Beer Larp and Fair Play Park fence renovations, that's at an increased cost of $1.55 million. The kickoff meeting with Integrated was held on August 9th. Integrated is the firm that will build the dugouts and also the fence. Next slide, please. At this time, I would like to let Madam Chair know that we've heard from Georgia Power when it came to Post Road lighting, and there was a delay on the risers. The risers will be here on September 16th, and the poles will be here at the end of the month. So come the 16th, they should start putting everything up, and by that time, that project should be completed. Now we're going into our SPLOST vendors list. There's 154 total vendors. 56 of those are located right here in Douglas County. Another 47 is located right outside of Douglas County. They're working on a total of 93 total projects. 69 of those are completed. 24 of those are active. Next slide, please. And with that percentage, we're still staying around 67% of the SPLOST goes towards local businesses. We've really been working with Elevate Douglas, with the Chamber, and with businesses and citizens about their roles and their abilities to access their SPLOST. Next slide, please. Right, this is actually showing where we are when it comes to finances, when it comes to our local vendors. So Douglas County accounts for $13.1 million. And then those other ones within 30 miles account for $46.57 million. That's a large increase due to one of the local firms receiving the Lee Road widening project. So the local vendors represent 67% of the SPLOST. They now account for 65% of the SPLOST projected funds. Next slide, please. And then when it comes to our DBE and minority-owned businesses, they are participating in 87% of the SPLOST. So the 24 active projects, 21 of those are going to DBE and minority-owned businesses. In fact, the one that did get the project for the road widening was a minority-owned firm. Next slide. And with that, we're both myself and Terry Gable are here to answer any questions or hear any comments. Thank you, Madam Chair. I turn the floor back over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Good. Board of Commissioners, you have any questions for Mr. Good this morning regarding this SPLOST update? Okay, Vice Chairman Robinson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. A couple of questions for you, Mr. Good.
Yes, sir.
Are we able to reconcile the SPLOST, sort of a revisitation of the numbers? In other words, that which will actually be completed by April of next year. Can we get a list updated from the full Board of Commissioners? In other words, that which is already in place goes. Right. That which is not going to go below the line, red. Can we get something to reconcile that for us?
Yes, sir. Definitely, we can do that.
All right, we can take that offline. I want to make that point to the board. We need to know where we are right now, just like we want to do with the ARPA. Second point I got for you is I received a communication from a citizen regarding a soccer field in Chestnut Log, and I think Commissioner Mitchell instructed me through his email to look at this. I think this is something that is part of Parks and Rec, and I think Mr. Dukes may want to weigh in on this. But can you confirm for us that is the Chestnut Law Soccer Field on the list of SPLOS?
Yes, the netting is on the list for SPLOS. And I believe, and Gary Dukes could correct me if I'm wrong, and I believe that the restrooms might be something that's on there that's a collaboration between the county and the Board of Education. But I don't want to get into something that legal might not look at yet. But that's, I can say that part.
It's okay. Madam Chair, can I get Gary Dukes on the phone real quick?
I'm here, Commissioner.
Yes.
Good morning, Director Dukes.
Good morning. How are you?
Pretty good. Can you weigh in on where we stand with Chestnut Law Soccer, just for the record?
Yes, sir.
Are y'all addressing that in the Parks and Rec Committee? Or
Yes, sir.
All
Commissioner Mitchell asked me to get with the Board of Education and see if we could enter into an agreement, 50-50 agreement to replace the netting and some fencing at Chestnut Log. So I did that and had a meeting with them, and we did come to an agreement, and they have acknowledged that agreement, and they are getting a check cut so we can move forward with replacing the netting and the fencing at Chestnut Log.
So that's strictly for, that's what a quick win maintenance of the current field. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
All right. What about restrooms, concession stands, anything of capital? That I think they'll just say it's on the list. Can you confirm that that's on the list?
Well, it's been identified as a need,
Yeah.
for sure. My understanding is there's no money that's been designated for that, for those improvements. We're talking about big time expenses here, $1 million for lighting, possibly close to $500,000 for a new restroom concession stand, and possibly $500,000 for paving. Those are the three big capital projects that we would like to get accomplished. But of course, with that kind of expense, it would probably be moved over to the next SPLOST if the board so chooses to do that.
Gotcha. No, thank you, Director Duke. So, Mr. Good, is it on the list somewhere on our SPLOS list?
Yes, sir. It's on the Parks reforecasted list, meaning that if there was something, if we had the revenue to get to some of these projects, we would get to those. That's one of the projects that was that's on the reforecasted list for Parks and Rec.
All right, then that's sufficient. Thank you both. Just for the record, for the citizen, I mean, it's important for the record that I actually cast a vote that ensured Parks and Rec has sufficiency in comparison to transportation, which is as important. But when I get communications from citizens and copying the whole city council, I'm like, okay, so where's this coming from? So anyway, I think I'm good for this right now. You guys have established it for the record. Madam Chair, I yield the floor.
Thank you so much, Vice Chairman Robinson. Any other comments or remarks for the commissioners? Thank you so much, Mr. Good, and thank you so much, Mr. Gable, for being available to answer questions. All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Board of Commissioners, certainly, if you please be prepared tomorrow to approve our minutes accordingly. We have both the commission meeting minutes, the work session minutes, mid-year workshop minutes, and the special call meeting minutes in the executive session. So just please review those and be prepared to approve or deny accordingly. Deputy County Administrator, you have anything to bring forth this morning?
Nothing this morning, Madam Chair. Good morning to you and to the Board of Commissioners, as well as the Assistant County Administrator, Tiffany Stewart-Stanley. Hope everybody is well.
Thank you so much. Board of Commissioners, we're going to move to tab number 6, which is the millage rate discussion, and certainly that's a public hearing for public hearing purposes, and certainly want to bring our new Chief Financial Officer forth to allow her just to comment and just share what she will be presenting tomorrow.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, Commissioners, Deputy County Administrator Perry, and Assistant County Administrator Stuart Stanley. Tomorrow will be the first of 3 required millage rate hearings, as the board, by consent of all the boards during our meeting, I believe it was maybe a couple of weeks ago, or maybe been last week, I can't remember. But when we did our mid-year, that there was consensus to maintain the current millage rate of 12.563, which is above the rollback rate of 11.9270. And Madam Chair, do you want me to go through the whole presentation or just give some brief highlights?
No, just the highlights, and then we'll
Okay.
do that tomorrow.
Okay, great. So that's the reason why we have to have this presentation, because we are the hearings, because we are setting the millage rate above the rollback rate. And by state law, that is considered a property tax increase. And anytime we have an increase, we have to have the 3 millage rate hearings. The first one again is tomorrow at 10 a.m. The second one is tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. during the regular board meeting. And the third one will be on August 25th at 10 a.m., followed by setting the actual millage rate by the board.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Chief Financial Officer. Board of Commissioners, you have any questions for Mrs. Bivens this morning? Okay. Thank you so much. We look forward to the public hearing tomorrow.
Thank you.
We're going to move forward, Commissioners, to grants, which is tab number 7, authorization for the juvenile courts to accept grant funds from the Committee on Justice for Children in the amount of $5,946.83 with no match, and amend the budget and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Judge Michelle Harrison. Judge Harrison, are you?
She's on the bench. If you want to wait 1 second, I can get her, or maybe I can just help with the item.
If you could help, Debbie. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, Debbie, you have the floor.
Okay, we applied for the grant with the, hang on 1 minute, I wasn't prepared because I had given it to her. So we applied for the grant with the Department of Justice for Children, just to help with some upgrades with our IT. We're going to add some Adobe, and also for a laptop. We had borrowed a laptop and returned it after COVID. So we were awarded the grant for $5,946.83 to purchase those items.
And I see there's no match.
No, ma'am.
Board of Commissioners, you all have any questions for Debbie McDonald? Thank you so much, Ms. McDonald. Mrs. McDonald. We're going to move on forward to tab number 8, authorization to apply for an OJJDP Office of Juvenile Justice Delinquency Prevention FY 2022 Youth Violence Prevention Program grant in the amount of $250,000 with no match required, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. This morning, do we have Mr. Jamie Defermont? You have the floor, Jamie.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, Commissioners. This grant would allow for us to expand our current diversion program called the Community Risk Reduction Program. It'll allow us to provide additional evidence-based services to our youth who are involved in our system. And in addition, it would allow for us to expand those services to allow violence prevention services to youth who are not involved in the court system. So if we are awarded funding for this, it will go a long way in expanding our current violence prevention strategy.
Thank you so much, Jamie. Board of Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, thank you. We're going to move to tab number 9, which is authorization to accept the grant funds in the amount of $9,150 from the Georgia EMS Association, and amend the fire department budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Chief Roger Jolivet, you have the floor. Fire Chief.
Good morning, Madam Chair, honorable.
Good morning.
And also staff members and also to the public. We're just excited about the opportunity to train an EMS level certification, and the grant is for 25 students, and we have it open up in-house, and then we would like to open it up to the public. We have about six spots for our citizens, and so we're asking the board for permission, authorization to accept the training grant from the Georgia MS Association, and there's no matching involved with it.
Thank you so much, Fire Chief. Any questions for Fire Chief Kelly, that board? Great. Thank you, Fire Chief.
Thank you.
We're going to move to business items. Board of Commissioners, tab number 10, authorized to advertise for a public hearing to consider an amendment to section 10-19, which is standards for water mains and fire hydrants of the Douglas County Code of Ordinances. Bill Schaefer.
Madam Chair,
And his own.
yep, and on behalf of the chief, we've come across an issue that he's brought to our attention regarding the placing of the specific brand and specific types of pipes that they use for water mains for the fire hydrants, as well as water to serve various developments in the county. And the chief has asked if he could have us inserted into the Code of Ordinances a new section that allows him some flexibility in how he's able to approve these different types of pipes, so that he has that ability to say, well, if you can't get this brand of pipe, then perhaps we can get this brand of pipe. It will help some of our developments move forward in the future, since we're tied up with, again, the fact that people can't get piping. So we're asking for a new section E in all of the above requirements in section 10-19. In the event any deviations are to be made, such requests shall be submitted and approved in writing by the fire chief and or his/her designee. And that would be in the review of projects. So he gets that. And that's what we're asking for, just that small addition. And I yield back to you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you so much, Bill. Mr. Schaefer. Board of Commissioners, you have any questions for Mr. Schaefer? Okay, no questions. We're going to move to tab number. Okay. Oh, I heard Vice Chairman first, and then Commissioner Mitchell is going to follow the references.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Bill, good morning.
Morning.
So here's my question. So our code, is that specific that we're at the brand level? And
We're at the type of pipe. We're at not the brand, but it's the type. So it's iron pipe versus plastic pipe. And the code was very specific that it requires a ductile iron pipe. And that's become very hard to find. But there are some circumstances where you can use a heavy grade, high pressure plastic piping for some of these installations. And so that's what the chief was asking for.
Got it. I understand. I'm good. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm good.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Mitchell, you have the
Yes,
floor.
just one, Phil. So in that change or in that request, the chief will determine whether or not to do plastic, high-end plastic, or something else, I guess. Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
That's correct. It'll just be up to the chief on any request for some deviation.
So my other question would be, are we losing in quality if we do versus just making that an option? I mean, I get that it's tough to come by, but what's your take? Oh, what are you guys saying that you're okay from a planning and zoning perspective to allow this to happen that way or not?
Oh, absolutely. There are many installations that allow for high pressure plastic that could replace the ductile iron. It realistically, in the section A where it's written out, it only allows water mains 8-inch ductile iron pipe to be provided. And sometimes we're finding that the lead time to get that piping is 12 to 16 months.
Wow. Okay. And I guess what I'm making sure that we're not compromising on quality, though. Am I safe to say that we're not?
No, we're not.
Okay. Because I could see if that was the case that everybody would go the cheapest route.
Well, the rule right now is you must provide ductile iron. It's only in circumstances that the chief agrees to that we would be allowed to use something other than ductile iron that would meet his safety requirements.
What would be a reasoning as to why we should switch? And what, give me a case in point that this subdivision could work fine without it.
Short runs of pipe or runs of pipe that are easily handled by high pressure plastic, high pressure PVC.
Okay. I mean, I hear you. I'm just not totally sold, but if the chief, you know, I'll lean on him to, I don't know if the chief is on here or not, but chief, can you speak to that though and reassure us that we're not compromising quality?
Yes. Everybody hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Yeah, basically, we're looking at best practices, and we've talked with the engineers, the WBSA, we got with James Worthington and our people, and the reason why we asked for that flexibility is not being able to get the ductile iron piping and the piping that we're going with, if it's available. I mean, if ductile iron is not available, is a more heavier, sturdier pipe that which could do the same functions. Ductile is the best, but the other pipe we're using is what the industry is turning to now because they can't get the ductile iron. And the other option is if we stay with just ductile, there's a possibility that all the projects and everything will be pushed back due to not being able to get the ductile for its availability. But the piping that they're using, that we're recommending, if we don't have that, it's just as strong and will do the job. And it's mainly on the private side, dealing with the pressures for fire hydrant, fire systems that deal with buildings. So we're able to, this is something that's best practice, and it's being utilized throughout our state and out the country due to the shortage. So it's giving us another tool in our tool bag to keep things moving at a safer rate as well.
Okay. So one last question, and for either of you guys, what's the life cycle of the ductile iron? I'm assuming that's what we've been using as a standard versus the plastic scenario, and I'm assuming the cost will probably be half the cost, and that's why I see everybody going, if we approve this though. That's okay. So what's the cost, you know, with this? About half the cost, Phil, or?
I don't have a cost estimate for per linear foot for high pressure plastic. It's also quite expensive. Not as expensive as ductile. The issue with ductile is that it can't be you can't get it.
Oh, I get that. I mean, I know it's on back order. I get that side of it, but I can see builders and others kind of leaning toward the least inexpensive route to get the better yield to their dollar. So, but okay, I get it. As long as you guys are saying, and you guys can reassure me that quality is not being compromised in trying to do this, even though I understand the back order. I get it.
And this is fire lines, just so you're clear. We allow plastic for water lines. So water services into subdivisions has already gone to some plastic on the private side, so that just so you get it, what we're talking about are the fire hydrant and fire lines themselves on private property.
Got it. Okay. I'll leave it there. I'll yield back now.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Mitchell. If there are no other questions for Chief Charlie, we're going to move on to the next item, or should I say to Phil Schaefer? Right.
Yep, Madam Chair.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is a small change to the parking prohibitions in the section 1482 of the Code of Ordinances in order to provide a synchronization between the Code of Ordinances and the Unified Development Code. Last month, when you all approved the changes to the Unified Development Code, we had approved a small change to the parking prohibitions in order to clarify some issues for our code enforcement officers. What we're asking this morning is if you would be willing to change the Code of Ordinances to match up with the actual Unified Development Code language in prohibiting vehicles from parking in the public right-of-way. Section 1482 has a very extensive identification of widths of streets and types of streets. And what we would like to do is modify that to a more simpler, a much simpler approach, which is, I'll read it for you, deleting section A and rewriting it to read, for non-emergency situations, no automobiles for over 24 hours, and no school buses, vehicles over 6 wheels, commercial vehicles, trailers, and other non-motorized vehicle accessories for any length of time are allowed to be parked within the public right-of-way. And then another additional item C, no automobiles may be parked within a Douglas County park and ride lot for a period exceeding 48 hours. The purpose of modifying section A for non-emergency situations as opposed to identifying the street types is that we have in that original one a provision for local deliveries are exempt from this requirement, and we've constantly got these tractor trailers parking on the road saying, well, I'm about to deliver. Well, they're about to deliver, but it might take 6 to 10 hours for the factory or the warehouse to open up to let them deliver. And so they're a problem down on Riverside and on Douglas Hill. It just becomes too difficult, and you can't chase them off because they have this provision. So we'd like to remove that provision and just say, for non-emergency situations, those trucks cannot be parked in the right-of-way. And that gives the sheriff the ability to go out and cite them, because this is the code of ordinances, and in our unified development code, the code enforcement officers can enforce that piece of it as well. And I yield back to you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Schaefer. Board of Commissioners, do you have any questions regarding this section 1482 parking prohibitions?
Yes, ma'am.
I think I heard Soprano first, Vice Chair, if you don't mind.
Mhm,
Commissioner
that's
Guider?
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Phil,
Yes,
what
ma'am.
about like on Douglas Boulevard where there's a middle lane that is, I guess used just as a turn lane? Like the car deliveries, they probably cannot get in some of those lots. But this is in the city, I know, but will this affect them?
No, this is just for county roads, Madam Guider, just for the county.
Okay, so as far as the delivery of the vehicles and they park in that middle lane, which is not used just as a traveling lane, it's just used for turning. But the city, do they adopt what we adopt sometimes?
If we talk to them, they may adopt it. I don't know.
Well, I'm not going to tell them.
Yeah, I don't work over there anymore, so I'm not sure I have any weight.
I just know that there's a very limited space to pull a tractor trailer full of cars into some of these lots over here, and I just wondered if it was going to affect them. But I know it's in the city, but I didn't know if this would overlap into that because it's on the right of ways. So just wanted to kind of clarify that. It's up to the city if they want to adopt something like this, right?
That would be my impression, yes, it would take the city to adopt something similar.
Okay, I just, and another thing I'm a little concerned, is it going to hinder deliveries to some of these companies? Have we talked with any of these companies as to a remedy and are giving them a heads up that your delivery trucks cannot park on such and such place? And because I think the companies need to have a heads up so they can have an alternative plan.
Well, the code enforcement have been after the trucks along our various roads for quite some time. That's why this was suggested, was so code enforcement would have a tool they could go to the companies with and say, you guys have to start complying with the law. You're hanging traffic up and you're making dangerous situations around the county. So yes, I know we've been working with these companies for several years now. Code enforcement's been trying to get the trucks off the streets for a while. It's their scheduling that is the problem. So they're aware of the problem, and they've been discussed, the problem's been discussed with them, but we don't see compliance is what the problem is.
Well, a courtesy letter to some of the companies along there might be justified. Just
Sure,
so
if
they
you,
can be thinking down the road, what are we
Yeah.
gonna do about the delivery trucks that come in the middle of the night and they have to sit there, blah, blah, blah. Just give them a heads up, that's all.
oh yeah, we will. I will
Thank you.
make sure that we send that letter out from code enforcement out to all the companies on those roads that have this problem. And that way, at least they can have a heads up that this is coming. I assume if you all approve it, that's the key. We'll write that letter assuming you approve it.
But, it's already a problem all over the nation about the delivery of goods. And we don't want to throw fuel on the fire. So just a courtesy letter letting the companies that are being delivered the goods, they have a heads up so they can think of a different remedy. Okay?
Okey-doke.
Thank you.
Can do.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Guider. Vice Chairman Robinson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I actually stand in agreement with Madam Guider. This is an issue for me. There's a difference between idling and parking. We have to wait for school buses, and it's not going to go anywhere. I agree. I don't know if code enforcement is the right communicator. It needs to be, Madam Chair, to you, to the top level. If you've been at them, are you going after the trucks or are you going after the company? Those are two different conversations. But this is an issue. I get the queuing. I understand. I understand. But there's got to be a balance in there. They have a right to be on the street. They have a right to sort of turn in. We knew this when we allowed them to come in, what their schedules were going to be. We asked the question, what are your hours of operation? Now said we're going to curb this. You knew we were getting these trucks in here. I have an issue with this. You're going to cite them for their business, for their right. I mean, you're taxing them. I don't have a problem. It's like you're taxing them. Think about it. These trucks are trying to deliver the very things you won't deliver in 24 hours. But yet, we want to say you need to be in the bachelor. We don't want to see you because you're inconveniencing us residential people. I got to think about this one, Madam Chair. I won't belabor it. I'll just say my comments for tomorrow. But I have a fundamental problem with this. I yield.
Okay, thank you. Any other comment for Thank you. We're gonna move on, for Commissioners to tab number 12, to authorize a certificate of preliminary plat approval for Cave Springs subdivision. Mr. Schaefer, you have the floor again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For this, we have a preliminary plat for the Cave Springs subdivision. Cave Springs is up in the north part of the county, just west of Highway 92, off of Cave Springs Road. They were approved in January of this past year. We came before you for a rezoning to allow for the subdivision to be built. Since that rezoning, we have been working with them in the DRC to design the subdivision so it accommodates all of the requirements. It is 156 lots over 63 acres at 2.46 units per acre, with about 21 acres or about 34% left as open space. It will be developing with central sewer connecting right next door to the sewer plant that is right next to them to the west. 156 lots in 2 phases. So there'll be a phase 1 coming in originally off of Cave Springs Road, and then phase 2 will be to the west of that and connecting up the road network to allow for all the subdivision to put together. One of the issues we ran into for this subdivision was the fire marshal requiring his fire access to be clear no matter where he was going, along with there was originally a cul-de-sac that was a little too long for our code, and we had to redesign that. But we have a stamp of approval from the DRC plat review team, and they're ready to go.
Thank you so much. Mr. Schaefer, any questions for commissioners regarding this subdivision plat? Okay, if none, we will go to the next one. Tab number 13, authorize a certificate of preliminary plat approval for Somerset and Anawake subdivision. Mr. Schaefer.
Yes, Madam Chair. So we're very excited about this one. Somerset at Anawake is our first conservation subdivision. So what we have in the code is a provision that allows you to develop at a slightly higher set of standards. For density, you have the same, it's zoned residential low density right now, so you would be developing at that number of units per acre. It's 302 lots over 219 acres, which represents 1.38 dwelling units per acre. However, because they are agreeing to dedicate 44% to open space, that's about 98 acres, we are allowing them to develop with the standards of the RMD, medium density, which gives them smaller lot sizes on central sewer. And that's our conservation subdivision provision, that you would be allowed to develop at the next highest level without having to go through a rezoning, so long as you didn't exceed the original zone district, the base zone district's maximum number of units per acre. And this is just at that maximum. We will bring this in under the dimensional standards of the medium density. And we're very excited because this is actually the first conservation subdivision we get to look at that allows for this provision. So with that, I will give it back to you. And if there are any questions, be happy to answer.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Schaefer. Any questions for the commissioners? All right, thank you, Mr. Schaefer. We're going to move on to tab number. Did I hear it?
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on to tab number 14, approval to accept funds in the amount of $845 from Keller Williams Realty for a fire games charity event and amend the fire department's budget and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Chief Jolivet, our chief.
Again, good morning.
Good morning.
Citizens, basically, this was an opportunity for our fire personnel, EMS personnel to engage in some activities that help improve our morale altogether. And Keller Williams, they actually was involved with setting the event up, and we met at the Deer Lake Park. We had some site races and some different things that we indulged in, and as a result, they were donated the amount of $845 for the event, charity event, and so we're excited about coming together to help improve morale as well as bring some monies in to help us as we take care of the mission. So that's where we are with it, and we're asking the board for consideration to approval to accept the $845 from Keller Williams Realty.
Thank you so much, Chief. Any questions forward? Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Chief. We're going to move on to tab number 15, Board of Commissioners, approval of a contract with Brightview Comprehensive Landscape Services for I-20 landscape services in the amount of $288,712.52 and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Director Coward, you have the floor. Keith Coward.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning.
Commissioners. So this was interesting. This one happened last week, completely out of the dark. But yeah, our contractor made a bad bid on his part, way too low. Not exactly sure what was his main downfall on that. But as they started work, we had guys go out from DOT maintenance and to show them what right looks like, and this is what we're going to be insisting, through the remainder of the project. We called them in for a meeting. Levon said they were not doing the job up to task, and we were pointing out
exactly what he had, a stack of photos taken, hey, this is what I'm talking about. So just pointing them out, exact instances where the standard was not met. And little did we know right after that, they said, we're gonna have to walk on this. So first time the contractor has quit on me, but it was due to his poor bid and just a lack of organization. We went directly to the next bidder in the process is Brightview. Brightview went out, looked at it. Same day we're getting this news. Upon Texas guy out, they look at it and he asked, can you honor your original bid? And looked at everything, no surprises. Yes, we can. So where we're at with them, we have Russell finishing up just some weeding, the flower beds, because they had two. They had an initial contract. One was $7,800. That was to get it up to standard where they can maintain. So it was supposed to take 2 weeks. It took 5, and they were not close. And then they said they're going to walk. But we will. Here's my recommendation. We pay the $7,800 for the initial clean, and the separate one, they don't get that at all. They hadn't even started that. So that is where Brightview's money would come from. It's the same amount. It would be $288,712, and which is in our budget. We have the funds for it. Only thing that really, got us is it put us down another week or two. And once you get this after when you get that land, situated the way you want it, and if you walk away from it from 2 weeks, it's a mess again. So that's frustrating, but I'm sure they didn't do that on purpose because they don't have a very good name in this community anymore. I promise that. So any questions on Brightview or Russell?
Any questions, Board of Commissioners, for Director Coward?
I would say that Brightview is standing by. They are ready to start. Their contract is at legal, and so pending that approval and the board's approval, they are ready to go and excited about it. So are we.
Okay. Good. All right. Any questions, Board? If none, thank you so much, Director Coward. You have the next one also, tab number 16.
Okay.
Approval of a contract with A2 Carb and Stone in the amount of $181,303.65 for the transfer station concrete floor to mitigate serious risk of our citizens and employees until a new transfer station is built, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Director Coward, if you could just brief the board on the emergency situation we have with our existing transfer station concrete floor.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so the transfer station we have here at landfill is old. We've talked about it several times. We've got people looking at it. We've got people talking about it. Finally, that's been the job for me to try and shine light on that subject for us. And a lot of the commissioners have helped me and dug into it as far as what we need and what the citizens deserve and employees deserve to work in. Right now, it's a hazard, and I've reported that before. We do little Band-Aids, unfortunately, and that's what you have to do to keep going. But with this, the hole is not the floor, excuse me, in the transfer station. It is not where it has holes and ruts in it after 2 days of dumping and pushing and loading the trucks. It makes it really difficult for an operator to be successful down there. And if you are short-staffed and you have a couple different people, they all operate slightly different, and it tears up the floor very quickly. So the last week we had complaints of standing water. You know, it's just a bad scenario. And I know we're trying to get a new transfer station, and that's not today's topic, but today's topic that leads us to that transfer station. We cannot just wait to build it all in one time. Like we have to act now. Thank you for putting this on the agenda and making it a priority. So we're looking at $185,000 for the concrete, and that's a whole new concrete pad. That's putting in rebar, that's fiber concrete, where it will withstand the dozer or IT lifting and trucks pulling in there, backing and dumping. So this is going to give them a safe environment, safer environment for our haulers, our citizens, and also when and if we start working on that transfer station, trash still has to go. So we'll have to plan it. We'll have to work here while building something on the other side, kind of, so to speak. And you know, pending y'all's approval on this, I've got signs to the public. I've got saying my plan to pour the concrete basically would shut down for 4 days, and afterwards it would be up and running again. We have planned to use bins to consolidate some of that trash, and then some of them just has to. We're gonna have to turn them away, and that's why I've got a lot of paperwork and a lot of people to call to make sure we're taking care of them too by doing this floor. But we have to say, hey, I'm sorry we can't take your trash for 2 days, but we got a great floor. It's going to last forever. I mean, not forever, but it's going to last a long time, better than it has been in 10 to 15 years. And we can continue to use that site after that building's gone. We can use it for a lot of stuff, but mainly I'm thinking a bigger recycling center, that kind of thing. So sorry if that went a little long. Any questions?
All right, thank you so much, Director Coward. Board of Commissioners, do you have any questions for Director Coward? Vice Chairman Robinson, you have the floor.
Yeah, I'll be quick. To my fellow peers, this will be on tomorrow's transportation committee as well. This is something obviously all of us are aware of as far as the transfer station itself. But this is obviously the flooring. I guess one of the things we have to address is the source of funding, which we'll talk about tomorrow. Specifically, do we have enough in our spots, which I don't think we do. I'm almost certain we don't, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. You either have two sources, either ARPA can cover this or the general fund. And that's something that we'll talk about tomorrow. So that's all, Madam Chair. I wanted to bring that up because we're going to talk about it in committee. Two sources of funding, general fund or ARPA. Are you, Madam Chair?
Thank you.
Wait, Madam Chair, can we make sure that, Madam ACA, are you looking into this as a source of funding? If not, let's talk about that offline.
Yes, Vice Chair. Madam Chair has instructed me to look at all options, so I'll be able to provide you with some information by the meeting tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you. Are you, Madam Chair?
Okay. If there are no further questions for Director Coward, thank you, Director.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Board of Commissioners, tomorrow, please be prepared to approve our expenses accordingly, and that is tab 17 through tab 20. Do we have any Board of Commissioners discussion? Do you all have anything you would like to discuss before have our county attorney regarding the executive session? Board of Commissioners, any discussion of any topic? Okay.
One thing, Madam Chair.
Mm-hmm.
Like we did last year to my fellow peers, we did a Legislative Reform Act where we put this big package of legislation together. I'd also like to do this publicly before you guys to submit whatever changes you want to see from a legislative perspective within the administration. This is the time to submit those. I know, Madam Carthen, you're working on something. I'm not certain if Commissioner Mitchell or Commissioner Guide have anything in mind, but let's try to work toward that as we get into the budget cycle as we did last year. That's all I need, Madam Chair. I yield.
Thank you so much. Any other comments? Or before I call on Chief Jolivet, I missed tab number 21. Okay. Chief Jolivet, are you still on the line? Just certainly would like you to brief the board about the need for a tanker truck in, for the rural areas of Douglas County, and particularly the I-20 corridor as well, because there are no hydrants along that item. As the chairman of the Fire and EMS Committee, I've asked you to bring this topic to make the Board of Commissioners aware of what the concerns are. You have the floor, Chief.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, thank the Board of Commissioners and also the citizens. During the course of my tenure, I have an ongoing assessment of our response areas and our equipment, making sure we bridge the gap between any kind of issues that may benefit or will benefit our response. And after looking at some of the, I'll start with the rural areas in our county. After looking at and making assessments and looking at the hydrants, water capacities, and what we had done in the past, it made it very clear that we need to look at alternatives for addressing the needs for delivery of water for firefighting and rescue and that type of thing. And we have relied heavily in the past on mutual aid with our mutual aid partners, but what we found out quickly was that they were having issues with staffing and availability for some of the equipment and all. So we start looking at any kind of possible funding paths to make sure we could look at the needs of acquiring a tanker truck, one to start, and then later getting a second one for each side of town. But what stuck out most importantly was I was looking at a study from the National Highway Safety Administration in I-20. Right now, it's ranked the second most dangerous interstate in the United States. And then I look back further, some further data in 2011 and 2015, it was ranked number 4. And 1,500 miles of that highway, starting in Texas and ending in South Carolina, a lot of that comes right through Douglas County and some of the traffic and all. And due to the number of incidents and deaths and all, we want to make sure we position ourselves to be prepared to deal with a major fire or thing of that nature as it comes to taking care of our stakeholders, whether they're visitors or whether they live here or whatever. And so we're asking for some consideration, possible looking at the purchase of a tanker truck. We did some research on it, and if that was to happen, it's right at $500,000. And we reached out to Mr. Good, Ms. Rosalind, Ms. Bibbins, Mr. Gable, and asked to see can we create a opportunity to take this into consideration. So right now we want to bring it up for discussion. The need is just mainly for the rural areas as well as the I-20 corridors. We can continue to provide excellent service to the people that are in Douglas County or come through Douglas County. And that's where we are with it as of now, discussion level, just trying to see. We know there's a need, just trying to look at finding the funding path to take care of it, to close that gap, so to speak.
Thank you so much, Chief. Chief, if also, could you elaborate on how many gallons the tanker will hold, gallons of water?
Okay, the tanker that we're looking at is 2,000 gallons of water. They do go up until you can get some at 3,000 gallons. the one we're specifically looking at is 2,000 gallons, but it have a dump tank on it, and where we can actually dump 2,100 gallons, and then go and then resupply our tank and come back and continue the dump operations as well. So it's an opportunity to look at a 2,000 gallon tank, and then with also the possibility of dump valve operations to continue using the water, so to speak. And
it has the pumper capability as well too.
Yes, we have the pump opportunity. We can pump water, flow water off of it, and that would help in terms of, our main thing is if somebody was trapped and needed some help, we have enough water to sustain that. And if it was more than one vehicle, several vehicles involved, we'll have that water capability out on the I-20 corridor. And I know if we look back a couple of years back, we had a major fire on I-85, and that created a need for water as well. So with all the traffic on the interstates, we're just trying to make sure we position ourselves so we can continue to be prepared.
Thank you so much, Chief. Any questions, board, regarding this tanker? Okay. Thank you so much, Chief. And we continue, as you continue to press forward and try to pull all the information together for the board, for board consideration. Thank you for your assessment and your expertise, and also just bandwidth of knowledge to realize that we are in dire need of a tanker, particularly because of the 20. We don't have any fire hydrants along that 20 corridor at all. And that's a nice stretch coming through Douglas. And then our rural areas, our fire hydrants are sparse. So thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Thank you.
All right, Board of Commissioners, certainly if there's no further comment, I'm just going to yield to our Attorney Coleman. Attorney Coleman, do we need to go into executive session?
Yes, Madam Chair, we need to go into executive session for a few matters, including litigation, real estate, and personnel.
Okay, thank you so much, County Attorney. Citizens of Douglas County, the Board of Commissioners, certainly we will take a pause for the cause for an executive session. Don't have a specific time of return, but certainly just ask for your patience in the meantime. Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, board? We have a motion and a second. When I call you districts, please respond accordingly. District 1. District 1. District.
Yes.
Okay, District 2. Thank you.
Yes.
District 3. District 3.
Yes, Madam Chair.
District 4.
Yes.
And Chairman, yes, we have a 5-0 unanimous vote to go into executive session, and the motion carries. All right, I yield to you, Clerk Watson. You have the floor.
You are back. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Sierra. Board of Commissioners, and thank you and appreciate you engaging in our executive session. And to the citizens of Douglas County, thank you for your patience. Board of Commissioners, do you have anything to add before I close out? And certainly I will mention just what we have coming tomorrow in terms of our meeting and the times for the citizens, so they could certainly pipe in tomorrow if they're interested. And certainly it will be an in-person meeting. Any comment, Board of Commissioners?
Yes, ma'am. For clarity, tomorrow's 10 a.m. meeting, is it in person or virtual?
The 10 a.m. is a special call. I apologize. And then, tomorrow is our second meeting, which is 6 p.m., which is our meeting, regular meeting.
The 6 p.m. is in person, but it's tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Is it? Lisa, how does
the 10 a.m. meeting is virtual.
No, ma'am, it is in person.
It's in person? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
10 a.m. Board of Commissioners. I'm glad we had this discussion. Yeah. All of our meetings, the public hearings for the millage rate is in person, Board of Commissioners. All right. If there's certainly Board of Commissioners, I will encourage our citizens. Number one, if you could just still remain cognizant that we are in pandemic mode, and to please take precautions and follow the 3 W's. Wash your hands repeatedly throughout the day. Watch your social distancing. And please wear a mask in those public areas that are very confined. Again, as a reminder, we have a special call meeting tomorrow. It will be held in Citizen Hall. Citizens, which tomorrow is I'm ahead of myself. Tomorrow is August the 15th or 16th. Tomorrow's August 16th at 10 a.m. We will have a special call public hearing meeting regarding the millage rate. And then we have our regularly scheduled legislative meeting, which is the BOC meeting tomorrow, to be held in Citizens Hall at 6 p.m. And then also there will be a public hearing. And then clerk, when is the next public hearing to close things out and vote? And it will be held also in person.
Yes, ma'am. That is on Thursday, August the 25th at 10 a.m. in Citizens Hall.
Okay. All right, citizens, I hope you made a note of these meetings that's forthcoming. And if there's nothing else, our Board of Commissioners, thank you for your time and talent today. If there's nothing else to come before this body, this meeting is adjourned. And it is now 10 minutes after 12 noon.